You're watching BCTV, Branford's community access station.
This is BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of Branford.
This is the taxes.
Joe.
What? Okay.
I used to work for Town.
Okay, we're going to get started. Town of Branford Board of Finance meeting for April 30th, 2018. First on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the previous meetings. And Lisa was able to send us the minutes of the last meeting and the last, I think, 300 meetings? No, it was actually several meetings. So if the board has had a chance to look at them, I know some have. If we feel comfortable with voting on them tonight, we can. If not, we can defer that. Not sure what the wish is.
I haven't read them.
Okay, so why don't we defer? What about, have we read any of the minutes?
I didn't see me to draw.
right,
I recommend we defer.
Okay, so we'll defer the approval of the minutes. Lisa, that's okay with you? Absolutely. Okay. And it goes back to February and covers the Board of Finance budget meetings. So. Okay, we'll go to the next, citizens' communications. Is there anyone from the public audience that wishes to address the board on items on the agenda? If not, we'll move to the third agenda item, to consider and if appropriate approve a request from the Solid Waste Management Commission to award recycling of commingled containers bid to Murphy Road Recycling LLC of Enfield at a cost of $30 per ton for fiscal years 19, 20, and 21, with options for 2 additional one-year extensions. Materials to be delivered to their MRR Automated Material Handling Facility in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And with us, we have Dan. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you can walk through this. This is for the contracts that are effective as of July 1 of 18?
Correct, this July 1st.
Okay. So a couple basic questions. Has the town council looked at these contracts?
Town council hasn't looked at the contracts. The base contracts we've used, they did look at the bids that went out, to make sure that they, we're satisfied with the language in the bid. The contracts themselves haven't been looked over yet.
Okay, that's fine. But I noticed that the date of this is March 28th, even though Lisa received it on the 29th.
The bids were received on March 16th.
Okay.
The Solid Waste Management Commission subsequently met and voted to approve these recommendations that are in front of us now for the 3 different commingled containers, which you just read, and then 2 others to follow.
Okay, why don't you walk through, and there may be some questions to the board. We weren't sure if we had enough information to make a judgment tonight, but we'll let you present your case.
So the first one that you read was the recycling of commingled containers. That's the stream we put out to the road. That's the bottles and cans, glass, plastics, and metal. That is currently being done by Winter Brothers of Shelton. It was a 3-year bid with 2 one-year extensions, as this is laid out to be. This current year that we're in is the 5th year, so we ran out of optional extensions. Went out to bid one more time. Those were received on March 16th. We had 3 responses, and the one that has the best price for the town, even though it shifted from being a revenue as in past years, is actually a cost to the town now of $30. That was the lowest cost to dispose of our bottles and cans recycling stream. I don't know. I think there was the second piece of kind of that led to this as part of your Board of Finance deliberations back with the budget. There was a request to add $24,000 to the solid waste budget to cover this unforeseen cost, you know, that we didn't know at the time.
So that's, the estimated cost of this is $24,000 for a fiscal year?
Correct.
Okay, that's just for this is for the transport, is that what this is?
This is for the actual, the facility to receive them. They charge $30 per ton
Okay.
to receive that. There'll be as of right now, the hauling bids to send these things to the various points from the transfer station to, you know,
Yep.
the points that we're working on tonight, is currently out to bid. Those will be received this Thursday.
Okay,
And
so
then we'll
this
be
is,
back here before this board to talk about those
so this is essentially the tipping fee at the
at the facility.
for 24,000. Okay, we put that in the budget. So this is why don't we take these one at a time, since that's the way the agenda is written. Do we have questions on this proposal for Murphy Road Recycling LLC? Question, Victor?
Yes, did you say we were being paid for this in the past contract?
The past contract, we were being paid $20 a ton by the previous contractor. Unfortunately, there's a few factors that are playing into the loss of revenue and the cost. You know, one being the national sword that's being played out with China right now. They're not accepting the full range of materials that they were once accepting. And so it's becoming more difficult to get rid of a lot of these materials for the brokers. And so a lot of the plastics that we recycle are now, they're finding a hard time getting rid of them. And so what they used to get paid for, now they're paying to dispose of. The other second factor is glass. Glass is becoming a much difficult commodity to get rid of. A major plant that used to take a lot of the glass up in Massachusetts recently shut down. And so that was a large outlet for a lot of the glass, and that isn't an outlet anymore. And so the cost of glass disposal, the company, you know, one of the company that had it before, you know, at one point came to us and said that, you know, they pay us to take the glass, then they take the glass out of the plastics and the aluminum and whatnot, and then they pay to get rid of the glass. So they were really getting hit both sides of things. And so when we presented our budget, we figured that this wouldn't be a revenue anymore. We thought it might be a zero cost to get rid of. And so we didn't portray any revenue in our projections, but we didn't see this high of a cost of disposal. But unfortunately, we got 3 bids back, and this was the one in the best interest of the town.
Other questions? Charlie?
Hey, Dan, do you see any, say, reversal? We've seen a swing then about $50.
Mm-hmm.
So do you ever see in the future years, after 3 years, it might swing the other way again?
It's possible. I mean, there's you know, they're looking at domestic plants to deal with some of the plastic and whatnot now. So hopefully there'll be domestic outlets, so we won't have to rely on shipping a lot of our recycling out of the country. You know, people are looking at alternate uses for glass so that there'd be outlets for it, and so you know, there'd be some demand for this high supply that there is. You know, I know one of the things, you know, we're looking at is a way to take the glass out of the stream, because that's the high cost. The aluminum is still of value. You know, half the plastic is still of high value. So if we could somehow eliminate the glass out of that stream, we could probably get revenue for the stream. You know, and there's different ways that the state's looking at it. There's different ways that the town are looking at it. But you know, this is the best we have at this point in time. But yeah, we certainly don't want to be paying to get rid of this stuff. You know, we're looking at getting that back into the revenue side of things.
Okay, thanks,
Okay,
Dan.
thanks.
Yeah.
Somebody want to move this?
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, Dan, next is to consider and if appropriate approve a request from the Solid Waste Management Commission to award recycling of newspaper and cardboard bid to Murphy Road Recycling LLC of Enfield, Connecticut at the revenue rate shown below for fiscal years 2019, 20, and 21, with the options for 2 additional 1-year extensions. Materials to be delivered to their Seaside Avenue Recycling Center in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And it shows cardboard at a $54 per ton value, newspapers at 25, and combined at 36. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is again These actual numbers are very comparable to the current revenue that we get, and that's also with Murphy Road. They've shifted the facility that accepts it. We send it to Stratford now, and they're proposing to send it to Bridgeport. But the 6% of the PPI NE high that you see there in the that's the pulp paper index. It's a market that's established by the recyclers to say what the price of these commodities are. OCC is cardboard, and so that's the price for cardboard on the open market, which they pay us 60% of that value. And so, as the market for cardboard goes up, we'll get paid more. As it crashes, so everybody kind of stays whole, and we receive that 60%. It's a 3-year bid with 2 1-year extensions, as we had done in the past. And this going with Murphy Road Recycling is the highest value that we can get of those 3 bids. Best interest of the town.
And this falls in line, Jim, with our revenue estimates?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions from Dan on the newspaper and cardboard?
I'll move this portion.
Been moved by Victor,
second it.
seconded by Jeff. Questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Thanks, Dan. And third is to consider if appropriate approve a request from Solid Waste Management Commission to award the recycling of scrap metal bids to Chase Waste Material Corp. of New Haven, Connecticut, at a revenue equal to the American metal market's New York export market for number 2 bundles, plus $6 at the floor price of $151 per gross ton for fiscal years 19, 20, and 21, with options for additional 1-year extensions.
So this is the scrap metal bin that we have at the transfer station. So all the scrap that comes in, we load into 40-yard containers, which are provided for by the bidder, and then they bring those to their yard for further segregation of the different metals, and then they pay us that number 2 bundles to steel price, of the New York market. If you were to look at this scrap price bulletin, or the American metal market, sorry, that we're working off of, there's all different prices, different markets. So we to get apples to apples on the bid, we asked for the New York number 2 market. And so they're taking whatever that price that market is at the time they pick it up and adding $6 to that price. And that's the per ton price that they give us as revenue to the town.
Okay.
When the bid came out, that would have been $255 per ton.
But now it's...
Well, I haven't gotten the latest market report. I assume it's still.
Okay, but there's a
250.
floor minimum.
There's a floor. If the market were to ever drop to
Right.
below $145, we would still get $151 per ton.
Okay. Okay, questions from Dan on this? Charlie?
Hey, Dan, I don't quite understand when you said they use the American metal market's export market, plus they're going to add $6 to it. Why are they adding money that they're going to pay us?
Because it's a steel price they pay us, and so the export markets for copper, aluminum, some of the more precious metals are greater than that, and so our mix that we send them
Oh, I
is
see. It's a mix that we're giving.
It's a
so
mix
they're-
they give us, and then they pay us for one of the
I get it.
lower commodities,
I got it. Thank you.
and that's why they pay us more than the commodity price.
Gotcha. And the $6 was like a premium or something in order to be competitive with the other bids?
Yeah, we're currently getting $5 above above the floor or above the market price, and so this was a $6 to go above
Gotcha.
their price.
Charlie?
So what's the most beneficial metal?
I don't know. It probably platinum, gold, things that we don't have in
No,
our
the
scrap
scrap metal.
in our scrap bin.
The scrap metal.
T. I mean,
Is it copper?
I don't know if it's copper, aluminum. Aluminum they both trade very high. I forget which one is at highest at this point in time. Sorry, I'll get back to you, Charlie.
he'll call you in the morning.
Yeah.
I'll move it, Joe.
Bob, questions?
I'll move it.
Oh, it's been moved by Bob. Discussion?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Jeff. Thank you. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is to consider and if appropriate, approve a request from the Department of General Government Buildings for the following budget transfers. Various projects, I'm going to run through them without the account numbers. From adult day care boiler replacement, $15.95. Senior center entrance door replacement, $306. Police garage unit heater replacement, $1,271. Stony Creek Fire AC unit replacement, $1,335. Stony Creek Museum roof replacement, $12,815. Transfer station overhead door replacement, $116,276. Transfer station rear garage doors and building repairs, $7,433. Volunteer Service Center roof replacement, $7,125. And the VNA building roof replacement, $8,406. That totals $155,616. And the request is to transfer that into the transfer station roof replacement and building repair of $155,616. Related to that is another transfer from Counseling Center railing replacement, $120. From Counseling Center roof replacement, $115.31. Police Department pitched roof replacement, $205. And Stony Creek AC replacement, again, $13.35. That's not a, that is a dupe. All right, so I
It needs
caught
to be
that one.
scratched.
So, and that adjusted number is what?
It's still the same.
It's still the same, you just, it didn't include, okay,
It was-
1856, got it. And again, transferring that into transfer station roof replacement, 1856. Welcome, Otto.
All right, all these accounts that you mentioned is all leftover money from all the projects I've done. So what I'm looking to do is to replace the roof at the transfer station. That's a big scale house. And basically what it comes down to is the $155,616 hopefully go into a new account that's used for the transfer station roof replacement and also building repairs, because once we're done with the roof, any leftover money we need to use for repairing the building.
So the
So-
155,000 goes into a new account,
New account.
and the 1856 goes into an existing account? Okay.
Yes, 1856, my explanation is I already have money there. The 1856 already has $96.47 in there. That's left over from already a project, which was scheduled to go for roof repairs.
Okay.
So, which that'll bring it up to a total of $86,952.17, plus the $155,615.58 should make it a total of $243,513.75 to go out and do a roof bid for replacing roof. So my intention is to use the old account first. All goes towards the roof replacement, which is not enough to do the roof to begin with because it's a large building. And the second account is also used to go to the roof replacement. Any money left over will go to the rest of the structure repair. But the roof, it needs to be replaced.
That's on the big building here?
That's a big, large building.
And when was that
The
roof
reason
put on?
why I had $116,000 left over on the overhead doors is at the time when I did that, the overhead doors were going to cost us about $30,000 a piece. So when we went through the program, we saved a lot of money, so that kind of helps me out here.
Is that the original roof?
Yes.
And that was put on, and when was that built? In 92? No, not 92.
Let's see, I
Late-
got
late
hired in
80s?
'94, so it's right around that time.
Okay.
So it's been up there quite some time.
Yeah. Okay. And that's an asphalt roof?
No, that's a metal
It's a
roof.
metal roof? That needs replacement.
it's rusting out, and the gutters on the building, and we just did the scale house. The scale house cost us, I think, $26,000. It's not a big roof.
Yeah, no, that's scale house, okay. Okay, questions from Otto? Bob, and then Charlie?
So what's the cost of the roof, Otto?
I don't have a number yet, but it's all to go towards that, and I hope to be able to accomplish it. I need to have
So
an
you
account.
you don't have any idea what that cost might be?
It
Well, it's
was in the
up to bid now, right?
$200,000 range.
Yeah, okay. And then what repairs have to be done beyond the roof?
Beyond the roof, let's see, since the building was not put on any kind of blocks, and the type of, the nature of the business up there with all the, dirt settling around the bottom of the building, it's starting to rot out. So some of the, metal on the floor holding the sheeting back needs to be replaced. We've already replaced frames around the doors, and there's also some damage done, some of the sheeting, again, the wall sheetings need to be replaced.
Okay. Charlie?
Yeah, did the overhead doors ever get replaced?
Oh,
Because
they're
we're
done.
taking 116,000 from that.
They're done.
They're done, so, I think we overestimated by 116, or?
Not at the time when I did the budget, because that was the number that came out. But when we went out for the program that we had, it just came in cheaper. It's a different brand doors. They're not overhead doors, they're counter doors. Still good quality, and were less expensive, and have a great savings on it.
Okay, thanks.
Because we usually try to stay with, because we had an overhead door, we kind of wanted to stay with that, but it kind of worked in our favor.
Okay, other questions?
So that was my question, so.
Okay. Somebody want to move it?
I'll move it.
Moved by
Second.
Bob, seconded by Charlie. Discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thanks, Otto. Next is to consider and if appropriate, approve a request from the town engineer for the following budget transfer from consulting services, $1,820, into part-time seasonal, $1,820. Janice, welcome.
Good evening, how are you?
Good, thank you.
This is to fund a summer intern position in the engineering department, as you're aware, through the budget process. It's being funded starting July 1 with the new budget being approved hopefully in the near future. So to cover the 4 weeks from June to July, June 4th till the beginning of July, this monies would allow me to bring on the intern at a reasonable time in the summer when they're home from school and be able to get some work done for those 4 weeks as well. And this is an internal transfer from my current fiscal year funding consulting services into that line item.
So, just refresh me, Jim, on this. This is for next fiscal year.
No, this is,
It says fiscal 19?
this is, basically in 19, there is money for an intern.
Okay,
And then what Janice wants them to start
Bring them in
sooner,
early.
start them in June. So the anticipation is the RTM would approve this in May, so you would actually be able to start the person in June. So you'd be doing June and then transition into July. then
I got you.
New year.
okay. Okay, so this covers this current...
This whole summer, yeah, it'll allow me to bring
But this
someone.
is for the current fiscal year, which is 18.
Right.
Gotcha. Questions?
I'll move it, Joe.
Moved by Jeff, seconded by Victor. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
John?
Yes.
Just if I may, on the capital side, that John and I realized that total figure should be 156,562. And the only reason I'm bringing it to your attention is that the RTM on the call is gonna say 155,616. You've got Stony Creek, fire, in there for 1,003, yeah.
This is just,
Yeah.
there's a math error of $1,090.
So we just want to make sure when the RTM votes on this next week, that we're voting on 156.
Yeah, it's not material to whether you want to make that transfer, but it is $1,090
Okay,
error.
so,
That
what's,
bottom number is 156,562.
Yeah, we know that.
so why didn't we vote on that? It's 156 what?
562.
562.
Then let's go back, and 156, 562, and pennies, 58 cents? Because what it does is it closes out the
Yeah,
old
I mean, a lot of
accounts.
these pennies,
I
we take care
I
of
didn't
that.
use the cents.
You take care of the pennies, do you take care of thousands?
Well, the total 1856 is correct. That Stony Creek was in there twice, but it wasn't in the total.
So let me ask you, the two numbers we voted on, are they correct? The one, which number is?
So the top number you voted on was not correct.
Okay, so that should be that 156.
562.
Okay, so, thank you.
Wait a minute, Catherine's gonna.
No, it's 156, 562, that top number, and then the bottom half is 1,856. So, and that you approved, so that's okay.
Yes, we approved the bottom one. Does somebody want to?
Yeah, I'll move it, Jim.
Bob makes a motion to correct the previously approved number to 156,562 and 58 cents.
I'll second it.
I'll second the corrected number.
It's been seconded by, actually, Victor. Charlie has a comment?
No,
You're good?
I'm good.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We just want to make sure.
Thank you
next
for,
week that we vote.
thank you, I do appreciate it.
In a way, you did approve of some of the parts, so.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the tax collector, to hear a request from the tax collector to approve suspense list for the 2012 grand list year. Okay, welcome, Roberta.
Hello, how are you?
We're doing well, and you are?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, thanks.
Okay.
So, you want to walk us through, I know the board has received the various detail, maybe you could walk through some of it, the process, and also what the grand total is?
Yes, per statute 12-165, we do have to suspend at least one account per year. So this year, we're working on the 2012 grand list year. The accounts that we are suspending, there are 367 motor vehicle accounts to the total of $60,260.01. 81 accounts under motor vehicle supplemental to the total of $8,356.31. And personal property accounts, 182 of them to the tune of $100,009.32, totaling $168,625.64. What I would like to point out is that figure may seem high in comparison to years past. Historically, grand list year 2011, the approved suspension was $102,944. In 2010, it was $105,182. The reason for that is, in my learning how to do the suspense properly, making several calls to other towns, to other tax collectors, to make sure I was doing it right, I've discovered that other towns suspend all of motor vehicle sup, and all of personal property, where in the past, Branford has only suspended select personal property. So after several emails and several visits to Mr. Finch's office, several, we tossed it back and forth. We spoke with Clinton, we spoke with Hamden, I think Guilford, and found that it was their practice to suspend all of personal property. So with Mr. Finch's permission, I am proposing to suspend all of personal property instead of just select few. In the past, Joanne selected just those that were out of business and those that were unable to locate, but going forward, this seems to be the practice that they want to use.
Now, just because you have put them on a suspense list, it doesn't mean you stop trying to pursue them.
Absolutely not. We can collect for up to 15 years. This is, I was trying to make sure that I understood it so that I could explain it to someone else who asked. I look at it as money that your brother-in-law owes you. He owes you $10,000. You don't really expect to get it, but if you get it, it's gravy. It's sort of, it becomes like not part of our receivables until we actually get it. It's not an asset until we actually get it.
So do you turn any of these over to collection agencies, or?
Yes, motor vehicle and motor vehicle sup, as well as personal property, gets turned over to collections. ANRG is our collection agency. It's pretty effective with the motor vehicle and motor vehicle sup, of course, because we can deny re-registrations of cars. That's easy. But personal property can get a little trickier when folks are out of business or unable to locate. It can be a little trickier. But I will say that I just looked at our records today, and this is not all suspense accounts. Please don't misunderstand this figure. But we have collected year-to-date, last year on April 30th to this year, we've collected over $75,000 through ANRG. So it is effective. It just maybe takes a little time for people to get it.
Now, if companies, local companies reorganize in some fashion and change their name or their corporate structure or ownership structures, you're not able, is there any successor liability for any of those, let's say on personal property?
Well, we do have ways to sort of track them down. We have a few systems that we can find out where they are and who they are and, try and catch up with them, so yes, we can.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Charlie?
Roberta, when you said we only suspended select companies, is that what you said?
Yes, in the past, for personal property, we did all of motor vehicle, we did all of motor vehicle supplemental, but for personal property, it was Joanne's practice. Usually she just suspended those that were listed as out of business or unable to locate. So that's why that figure is such a, because now we're doing all of them, not just those that are out of business.
I see, okay. Thank you.
So now it's actually fairly simplified. So if it's not collected by the end of the year, you're writing some of these. This is a 2012 grand
This is the
list. 2012
grand list.
And so next year you'll be looking at the 13 list.
Correct.
Okay. So you've had plenty of time to collect. We've had a fair amount of time. So these may or may not yield much.
They may or may not. I looked at the records for, the 2011 grand list year and what we actually collected in the past year for those. It was 102 was the total we were looking for, and I think we got about 6,400. So again,
On the 11.
on the 11, yes.
Okay. So it's something.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, and we did talk about it, the difference, if you went back to 2017, was only about a $46,000 difference. So the 102,944 would have been 149,059 under this method. And I also did check with our auditors, and and they've also confirmed that certain folks do it different ways. Either way is acceptable. The way that's proposed tonight is actually more conservative because you're lowering your receivable. But if you look at the tax collector's report, what you'll probably see in future years is you'll see more suspense collections because you're suspending more. That's the only difference.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay. Bob, you have a question?
Yeah, just what's our cost of collection?
Cost of collections?
Right. What is the
they charge 15%, they collect 15% on top of that's their collection fee. But the cost of ANRG for us, I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
I need to find that out.
I believe they pay for all that.
I think they do all the work. I don't know if we ever actually.
It's passed out, so we collect 100% of whatever
Yes,
the
I'm sorry.
outstanding is.
Yes,
Okay.
I apologize. I misunderstood the question. Yes.
Okay, other questions? Somebody want to move to suspense?
I'll move that we suspend the $60,260.01 in motor vehicle, $8,356.31 in supplemental, and $100,009.32 in personal property
Okay.
from 2012.
Victor's moved that.
Second.
Second by Robert. Discussion. The only other comment I'd make is that we don't suspend real estate because that lien stays on the property. correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other discussions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Bobby.
I think I'm the next one too.
You are the next one. Let's see. You want to stick around? Okay. Oop, yes, you are. Next is, thank you. To consider and if appropriate, approve a request from the tax collector for the following budget transfer from resident stickers, $514, to memberships, conference and meetings, same amount, $514.
Yes, the reason for that is we have that extra money for the stickers. The stickers didn't cost us as much this year because we actually utilized some of the special permit cards from last year, and we're going to run short in the meetings, conferences, and memberships, whatever that is, because I don't think at the time last year that everyone anticipated that I would need to go to certification classes as well as Taisha goes. So the cost of the course plus the mileage is going to throw that over. So we figured we had that money sitting around, let's move it over. That way we're
That's good. So you're becoming certified.
working on it.
And Charlene is certified.
Anna is certified.
And
Charlene is not.
Oh, Charlene's not, okay.
Charlene's not.
Okay, so you're pursuing that, and that's the $514. Is the discussion?
I'll move it, Joe.
Moved by Jeff. Second by Charlie. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Have a good night.
Okay, next is to consider and if appropriate amend the 2018 budget to account for the salary changes pursuant to the collective bargaining agreements for the town employees union and wastewater treatment plant employees from contingency $28,560 into various accounts, executive 2418, planning 3171, IT 3445, HR 1056, police 1058, building 1792, animal control 2294, utility 2022, human services 4599, elderly services 5842, and Willoughby Wallace Library 2181 for a total of 28560. I'll read the rest of these and we can then get the explanation. Again, the next one is the corresponding transfer out, $19,195 to the sewer utility for wages and $38.58 for overtime for a subtotal of $23,053. Animal control fund would receive a transfer in of $22.94, and that going to the line item of wages and salaries for that same amount. Sewer utility would receive a revenue of $25,075 and going a corresponding expenditure appropriation of $21,217 and overtime $38.58 for a subtotal of $25,075. And the Human Services Fund would recognize a revenue of $4,599, transfer in, and have an expenditure increase to that line item by $4,599. So with that, Jim, are you handling this?
Yeah, actually, yeah. If you look on my letter, I just want to point out one thing. The wages and salaries for Willoughby Wallace is $863. So if you look at my letter, it's the same total, but it's not the
call.
It's not the call.
The agenda is
the agenda says 2181, so it would be the total is correct. And so if you just go by the letter that I sent.
Gotcha. So that subtotal 28,650 of 560 is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
So Dennis, you used the letter, right?
I got it.
All right, good.
Okay. We're good. Thanks, Jim. Do you want to briefly?
Yeah. Basically, these contracts were unsettled when we had adopted the 17-18 budget. They were recently adopted by the RTM. This was happening at the time that the Board of Finance was also acting on or make recommendations to the 2019 budget. So they are reflected in the 2019 budget. So we're basically going back to the 2018 budget and adjusting the accounts. Essentially, the contracts have a term of 3 years, wage increases of 2.5%. We did make some changes in the medical benefits as it relates to the premium shares and also the deductibles on the health savings accounts. There was also a buy-up for folks that, so if you didn't opt for the HSA, then you had to basically buy up, so that would be the equivalent of having the HSA. So, and these increases, based on the CCM data that we received, are in line with other communities. So, all in all, it seemed to be a fair contract. I think it passed overwhelmingly at the RTM. I don't remember the exact vote. But the other way our process works, the RTM approves the contract, creates the liability, then we come back and we adjust the budget.
Thanks. Questions from Jim? Somebody want to move it?
So move it.
Move the various transfers.
I move it.
Motion by Charlie,
Second?
seconded by Bob. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next is to consider a request from the Finance Director to increase the credit card limit from $5,000 to $10,000 on a credit card assigned to the purchasing clerk and issued through the Bank of America. We have a letter from Jim explaining the reason for the request. Jim, you want to
Yeah, I mean,
comment on that?
basically, we've had credit cards for a number of years now, and we started out with relatively small amounts. One of the last ones we approved was for the IT department, because they buy a lot of stuff online, and then the Human Services Director for the hotels, et cetera. What this one relates to is, there are certain departments that need to make purchases online, so they use the credit card. But what we've noticed is primarily what's driving it is when folks go register for conferences, a lot of them require credit card registration. And so if you have, let's say, a number of police or fire going to a training, and you're registering all these people, you could easily use up some of the balance. And so we did have that happen recently. Ironically, I was going to a conference at the same time. I ended up putting it on my own, but basically, we can't force people to do that. So for whatever reason, folks are opting to not put it on their credit cards.
Thanks, Jim. Questions from Jim on the request?
I'll move it, Joe.
Moved by Jeff,
Second?
seconded by Lorraine. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Next is to consider a request from the Finance Director to recommend that the Board of Finance appoint the accounting firm of Bloom Shapiro to perform the annual audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018, at a proposed fee of $64,000. We've got Jim's memo and the letter from Bloom Shapiro. Jim, you want to comment on this?
Basically, the only thing I would say is that, the fee increase is relatively small. We've had Bloom Shapiro for a number of years. However, as Jerry Parrott has said at the last meeting, he is retiring. So, we will be basically having a new partner. You may have noticed that the signature was Ronald W. Nosek, CPA, not Jerry Parrott. Jerry was one of the folks who would normally be sending these proposal letters. So you will have a different set of eyes looking at, overseeing the audit. And so I think, historically, sometimes folks wonder, well, should we have new people looking at it? And over the years, with turnovers in firms and turnovers with some of the staff on site, we do get, different people looking at it. So,
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Questions on this request? Moved by Victor.
Second.
Seconded by Bob. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Jim. Next is to provide a brief update by the Finance Director on recent developments related to the IT financial system upgrade.
yeah, this is going to be like sort of a group presentation.
Fine. Where's your group?
That's okay.
Welcome.
Okay,
I'm joined here by my subject matter experts on issues of IT and the financial system. We have Joe Abatello from IT, Debbie Caron, you guys know Catherine LeBanc, and Don Neal is here representing the Board of Education. The Board of Finance in the current budget had provided us with some funds to send folks to the Munis conference, and for those watching at home, Munis is basically the financial system for the town of Branford. So you might say that's sort of our enterprise system. It touches every department, and it's critical to our functions. The reason folks were going to the Munis conference is that we were basically needing to migrate to a newer version of our existing software because there's some concern about whether we could do W-2s in 2018 without that upgrade. So that's the good news. So basically we appropriated some money, and you guys were able to attend the conference and learn about the newer versions. At the conference, again, one of the reasons you go to a conference is to learn things and understand things better, is that there were some challenges to our effort to upgrade under our current setup. But sometimes when there's a challenge, there's a solution, and the solution provided us with some opportunities in terms of functionality. Those opportunities come at a cost, and we're not here tonight to ask you for money. We wanted to advise you as to what some of those challenges and opportunities are. I know you guys are meeting again in May, and so our thought is to come back to you at that point with a formal request. So to talk about some of those challenges and opportunities, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie or Catherine, whoever wants to go. But maybe Catherine, you may want to start, and then Deb, you can.
So yes, as Jim alluded to, we are required to upgrade Munis. They have us on a life cycle, or they have all of their clients on a life cycle upgrade. Usually it's 2 to 3 years before they retire an old version. So when we as a committee had met to upgrade, it was decided that we were going to go from our current system to the newest version of Munis, but also switch from what they call a desktop client version of Munis to a web-based version of Munis that opens up a wide variety of enhancements, program enhancements that both departments need, both the town and the Board of Education. So with that in mind, when we went to the conference, we were told that because of our setup of our domains, which then I'll turn it over to Debbie, she can explain that more, that we could not utilize the web version of Munis because of how we're set up. That in order to do the web version of Munis, we had to go to a hosted version of Munis, which right now we're self-hosted. So we would be having Tyler host our data. And that's where things lie right now. And then I'll turn it over to Debbie because she can talk more about why it wouldn't work IT related.
Yeah, basically what Catherine said is correct, and we do need to upgrade both on the town side and the Board of Ed side. I don't want to get too technical in the explanation, but just to simplify things, the way it is, we have 4 domains at the town, and what that means is we have the network segregated, how the users log in from on the town side, the Board of Ed, how they log in terms of Munis, and then the police and fire. And each one has a different domain, such as BranfordSchools.org, Branford-CT.gov, Branford Police, and Branford Fire. So when we need to move to the dashboard version, the web-based version of Munis, we won't be able to have the full functionality, or I would say 90% of the functionality that we need if everyone is not on the same domain. And this causes a problem, and we just cannot all move to one domain. So that's just to simplify the technicality behind it. There is one way for right now that we can stay on the version we're on, and we can also upgrade to, there's 3 more versions ahead of us. We are currently upgrading to 1 one of them. That'll make 2 more ahead of us. And in that version, we could use a client. But utilizing that client, we will lose all, I would say, not all, but the majority of all the new features by using that client. So, in what we foresee and the direction that Tyler, the company that is oversees that has Munis, the software that we use, it seems that with each upgrade, they're pushing more and more for their clients to move to software as a service, to the web-based functionality. And this is where all of our data lives. This is where it's lived for how long? About 15 years, 20 years in Munis? How long?
We've only had it since 2009.
Since 2009. So there's a lot of historical records. And this is, you know, at the conference, the way it was going, all the classes we attended, you could see that they were pushing everybody to move in this direction. They want everything to move into software as a service. So it was heartbreaking for us to find this out, because as we were right now the past 2 weeks, we were moving into doing an upgrade. They never came forward with this information to us. So.
Yeah, can I add something here? For the past week and a half, we've been upgrading to 11.3 with the impression that we can use the dashboard in our system. It's what we've been told by
Which is the web-based,
sales
the
rep.
dashboard.
The dashboard is the web-based piece. What we found out at the convention was what they've done is they've gone to what's called a single sign-on. Basically, that means you log into your computer. You don't have to log into the finance system anymore. Well, unfortunately, we have 4 different domains. They don't log into those domains. They log into their own domain, so they can't connect to Munis anymore. They wouldn't have that connection. They took away the opportunity to log in separately to the finance or the payroll system. We just found that out the other day. We've at the point where we are halfway through the upgrade, and we're at the test point. We were testing the product before going live in July. That's where we're at the moment. And the rest of this is the things we found out, because there are considerable differences between the dashboard experience and using a client, especially for Board of Ed. There's a lot of pieces for payroll and such. They've combined everything. Before they were separate components. Now they can have them on their workbench in front of them.
So when you're planning for this upgrade, how long have you been planning for it?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years.
And you never had the technical support from the company that told you what was required?
No, that's not technically true. The problem is that Branford is very unique in how you access Munis. I've met several, probably 30 people I talked to at the conference. Not one of those sites had where you have 4 separate domains of people logging in and then going through a back door to Tyler. So I think that Tyler told us what we needed. They just didn't realize that our backdoor setup was what it was.
Why do we have the 4 domains when that's not necessarily the best practice, or why is that still required?
It's not that it's not. It actually is the best practice. It's just not the way that Tyler has moved in the way they develop their product moving forward. So
that's you're saying that's best practice?
Well,
but in fact, Tyler doesn't follow that approach.
It's just other towns not all towns and cities, other places that are using the software function the way we do. I mean, what you have to understand is there's a separate IT at the Board of Ed, as you know.
I do understand.
So their login is to their systems, which we on the town side don't have access to, but what we share is the financial system, Munis. We share that for purchase. Okay? So for the police, when they log into their local domain, they log in with their badge numbers. The fire as well. They have access to their secure applications, which we should not have access to keep them secure. So that's why. So the way the
So-
financial system has worked now.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So you're saying that their system would not be secure if they had their own sign-ins and is there capability in the system so that fire and police and other confidential types of files cannot be accessed by anyone else that's accessing it for other purposes?
That is true.
It is
Historically, in each instance, the fire chief, police chief have demanded they have their own domain. They wanted it separated from the town, and that's why it's such as it is. And because of that, we cannot transfer data directly with the logins because they have their own, it's called Active Directory. They have their own list of people and how they log in both locations, fire and there. Now, the school system went to basically a web-based system. They have everything online now. So they're a completely different domain, and we can't connect to it. We've made it work by using a client so that each person can log into it. Our problem is the finance system itself, Tyler Corporation, is trying to move away from that by adding the functionality of everything to a web-based system and taking it away from the client, which is installed on
So
each
that would
system.
limit it to only the town or the Board of Ed or someone, so all 4 domains could not get into Munis?
They could by way of using the SaaS, or the system as a software, in other words. Because that would then have a login to Tyler itself, because they would be hosting the data, and they would correspond that login directly to our data for history reasons. So that even though you have a different login, it would still be your old login history. So that we'd have all of that.
So your solution is what?
Well, we have a couple options.
Well, one of the solutions is if it's hosted at Munis, then, as Joe was saying, all the folks with their existing domains could actually access the data and access the history. And typically, and I am by far not an expert on this, but in my sort of simple world, when I used to do my taxes, I did them on TurboTax. I actually stuck a disk in my computer, and a lot of the data was on my PC. Now I access TurboTax through the web, and if I want to get all tax returns, I can access them through the web. TurboTax is constantly updating. I don't have to, get another disk or do any things that we used to do in the old days. Some of the advantages of having it hosted on the web is some improved functionality. And before I finish, I want to make sure I give Don a chance to speak to that. But it also is, when we have to do upgrades and backups and other things, lots of times we have to kick people off the system. So those things can get scheduled at night, for example. If there's if there's a disaster, our data is basically housed in Boston somewhere or Maine, sorry. And so there's some advantages to that. If our data center has a fire, there'll be some disruption, but the data is not lost because the data is basically being backed up there. When we call support and we have an issue, currently my understanding now is you give them a sign-in, right? And so they will sign into our system. Moving forward, that won't be necessary because they will have everything in front of them. And a lot of their clients are moving that way, so a lot of their support staff is going to be used to handling it that way. But I did want to let Don talk about some of the functionality that you don't have now that you would have in this new environment.
Sure, thanks, Jim. So there are really 2 issues at play. One is where does the software and our data, and it's our data too, they would keep it, but we still retain ownership of that. Where do those things live? And then what are the functionalities that we can achieve with the upgrade? And several staff and I also went to the conference and came back very, very excited about the capabilities of the newer versions. In no way to minimize the importance of town finances, reliance on Munis. For us, it's not just a financial system, it's really an enterprise software. It's an integrated set of applications that, they all work together. We have employees self-serve, whereby when we do health insurance open enrollment, people enroll through there. We post their options for them. They request time off, which then is directed to the supervisor, who can approve or disapprove. Some of the newer functionalities that comes with that is we can go, we've already made a lot of strides in going paperless, but we can do things like acknowledgments of salary agreements, handbooks and policies, stuff that right now we have to get a handwritten acknowledgement that people have received. And so we have employee self-serve, human resources. We have not only our current 540 employees, but all the other folks who've worked for us for the past almost a decade now. Tremendous warehouse of data there. We do process our own payroll, and again, these types of approvals that that we use for leave time, that kind of business logic is also built into these other systems. So let's say we hire a volleyball coach. That decision gets routed through several folks, and there's an auditable trail of approvals, and it works really well for us. And again, it's paperless, which is it's efficient, and then there's a history. And so yeah, so we use it for payroll as well. Works really nicely, integrates with the financial system. So while you've heard talk about the dashboard and the hub, those are user interface changes which very powerful, allow folks to create customized menus, and we can even create, anticipating what people want, we could create some template menus and ship them out to our staff, because there are many functions that someone like Jim or Catherine and I would use in the system that our average user wouldn't. So they can kind of build their own shortcuts. They may only go to 1 or 2 places, but it's 4 or 5 clicks through menus to get there. They can set it up so it's just 1 click and boom, they're in business. So that's a real nice improvement. So while the company has made investments in improving the user interface and the financial systems, they've also done a lot with some of the other stuff. For instance, human resources. We have personnel, what they call personnel actions, which I described, that a change is made in someone's employment status. Let's say they get a longevity payment on their anniversary date. Munis has now built in scheduling functionality into that, so rather than have our payroll person wait until it's the payroll where that person's anniversary date is coming up, we can, which may be a busy time of year, he or she can ahead of time, we know that's going to happen, we schedule it, and sometime earlier than that it can get done. So it doesn't really create less work, but it helps us kind of balance the workload. So they've done a lot, and like I said, we're very excited about the improvements that the company's made.
Thanks, Don. A question. Are you utilizing the general ledger module?
Yes.
You are. So you have a full-fledged general ledger in play for your funds?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you on that. Debbie, what version are we on right now?
We're moving to 11.3.
We're currently on 10.5, we're upgrading to 11.3.
10.5, and you're trying to 11.3.
11.3. It's a considerable difference because of the
How many versions are we behind now to what the most current version would be?
3. The most current would be 2018.1.
Yeah, it's the most current.
Which is where they want us to move.
Right, like 2 versions, 3 versions, 4.
So right now it's 10.5. The highest version of 11 is 11.3.
Okay.
If we moved, the next version that they're rolling out to people is 2018.1.
So I'll take that as
Which-
2 versions behind, 3 versions behind?
Technically 3 versions.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to get an idea. And so, in that, there's obviously improvements for security and other functionality.
Well, it's really more the functionality, what's going on, and like Donald said, I mean, they use a lot more the modules than we do on the town side at the Board of Ed, so the functionality changes are tremendous for them. I mean, the improvement is just really terrific.
So really, I guess my disappointment is that the company really kind of didn't really fully support your transition plans, which makes it tough, because we don't necessarily like surprises here. I'm not sure what the money is involved, but that's really why I'm a little annoyed at Tyler, the fact that they, again, project planning is difficult enough for project implementation, but if you've worked on this and now find out that it's not going to work, we should have known that a long time ago and planned for it.
We were very surprised finding it out at the conference too, because we were more than halfway through with the upgrade when we attended that conference, and just never came up in any of the technical documents with any of the project managers or anything. We are very surprised about this. We are.
So are we looking at an additional appropriation, Mr. Finch?
Yes, we would be. My thinking with this was...
What estimated size of that?
Well, one of the things that I guess we have to work out, and we did have a meeting on Friday with Don and a member of his staff, and the Board of Ed is looking to contribute as well. So, it's all taxpayers' dollars, I understand
get
that.
it.
But I think we're looking at somewhere around was it 97 plus the...
No, right.
Well,
Well, it's two separate pieces, so for next year's budget, currently our upgrade is scheduled for July 19th. So this kind of puts a stop on that for right now, but IT has $60,614, I believe, in their budget. Going to the SAS version, which is their Munis or Tyler hosted system, is around 97,000. I think the quote was 926. So that's an extra 37,000 plus. But then for there's a one-time cost to move that route too. So that was about an extra, anywhere between 15 and 20,000, depending upon what servers we need, or VPN devices, I believe they're called. That gives us a project team assigned directly to Branford. It includes data conversion and there's another fee, and it right out of my head. But it's that
Based on
first
users,
year,
right?
based on users. I'm sorry. Yes, but it was just that one-time setup fee. But then going forward, it would be that, and it does include printers too. So it would be about an extra 37,000 annually a year, and then the setup costs are separate.
Okay, so you'll probably be coming back in May for
Yeah.
a little more clarity and a request.
Yeah, and the other thing too is you're getting more functionality with that 37,000, and you're getting them backing up the data. So that's why at the beginning it says there's challenges and there's opportunities and there's solutions, but the solution comes with a cost. But thankfully we found this out.
We found that out.
We found it out late, but at least
before you tried to implement it.
Yeah, because we would have potentially been stuck in 2018 not being able to do the W-2. So.
Okay. Thanks. Without belaboring it tonight, I know a few questions, but my last comment would be, I believe there's an SASE 16 report, either type 2 or type 3, that you probably want to ask for, which would be a third-party independent that does that audits that cloud-based facility. And
They are.
but you can ask for that document.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say that I did find out that I asked our representative, there's 700 clients of Tyler that use this SAS version, which is where they host it. And 40 of those installations are in Connecticut alone. So I'm in the process of getting a list of the Connecticut installs so that we can, it's been a long time since I was on the SAS version, as well as Kevin from the Board of Education. So I'd just like to get an update as to how their service is, if things run smoothly.
And obviously, security is important, so that's really, if you're moving to the cloud, you're not locally hosted. That's why that SASE 16 gives you some level of assurance. You want to know if there's been any breaches. You want to know what the contract is with regards to if a breach does happen, et cetera. So make sure that security is high on your list. Questions or comments from the board? Bob?
Just two. So they are sunsetting what we're on currently?
Yes. It's at end of life, so we can no longer do.
Yeah.
The April 2019 is when it's been officially retired. 2018 calendar year W-2s and 1099s are the last that they will support. So if we didn't upgrade currently, they'll work on this year's W-2s, but then next year they wouldn't support it. They wouldn't support any program enhancements, if there's any tax law changes, anything like that. So that's why we have to move in an aggressive schedule.
And then how do we pay for that? Are these licenses or seats? How do they do that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. It's licenses, it's seats, and then there's maintenance.
It's concurrent users.
Yeah.
Concurrent users.
Is how they base it. If we've had 30 people online at one time, it's one cost. If we have 100 online at one time, it's a different cost. And Joe, just can I say real quick, one of the reasons for our frustration from the IT department, we had to build 5 new servers for this upgrade. We got them built, provisioned, set up, all the data transferred. We were here for hours.
Yeah.
And now it's, it's frustrating.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate it. I'm sure members can.
We were very
appreciate it as
gruff
well.
with the people at the conference.
So we do have confidence in you. We just, we don't like surprises, and neither do you, so.
Yeah, and then my last question, just to be sure, so what we're doing, we're sharing the cost with the Board of Education. Is that 50/50? How are we gonna determine how we do that?
Actually, the town pays for the annual maintenance. What Jim was referring to,
So
I'm sorry.
was the upfront getting this going, and Catherine was talking about like the equipment, some of the other purchases that we would have to make?
The training, that's where the Board of Ed, we were looking to share the costs of getting to the system, but the annual maintenance is covered by our IT department's budget.
So we're still assessing where we think we're going to end up this year, but I think we have enough time left in the fiscal year to do some strategic belt tightening. And while Jim and I haven't really kind of nailed down the specifics, we definitely want to partner in sharing this cost.
Yeah, I would think you would want to share in the maintenance too. Why you wouldn't want to do that?
Thanks, Bob. Charlie? You gonna pass?
Yeah.
Other comments? Victor? Questions?
The question regards security between these modules for the police. How can you secure the police information in the new system?
Well, this is all a financial system in there. It's not there's no police information per se. It's just like the town hall's information about any user here. You will have the same security concerns for all 4 domains because frankly it's the financial data, but in the case of the board they have a little more data because they have social security numbers and everything else. So a bigger security concern would be for the board side if anything else. The rest of us, it's the financial system and it's all in one, it'll be all inclusive. We take care of the individual domains. Their data is separated, you can't get to it from here. It's one of those deals.
Okay.
But the financial system, it's what it is. It's system-wide, so everybody has to have access to it.
Okay, thank you.
Charlie, you got a question?
Listen, when the system gets up and going, is there any estimate of whether we're going to save on man-hours or whether we're going to need more man-hours?
Well, I wouldn't think you would need more man-hours.
Well, for inputting data more?
Well, no, I mean, we're using a system now, so we're using a newer version of a system. So the same people are doing the same things on the system. One of the differences is where is that system being housed? Now, one of the things that I think you're like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, would be a little bit easier is when we have
When we have problems.
Is when they have a problem, somebody has to make changes to it. They can do that. They could work on it, when we're home. We don't have to basically shut down an operation, while an upgrade occurs, or even some of the patches that occur. So right now, those are all done during work hours, typically. So, when the data is housed somewhere else, that doesn't happen. So that's where I said there are some opportunities, there are some benefits to this, notwithstanding the frustration of sort of going down the wrong path with this. But in the end, there are some, we could be in a very good place.
Okay, well.
Yeah, any opportunities going back to management of Tyler and suggesting that they give us some credit for moving to the 11, and working that into the price?
What when I talked to our representative was depending upon when we go. So say the RTM, the Board of Finance approves us moving this way, and we can't get it implemented until August. They will credit all of that money that we've paid. They're gonna prorate our service. So it's $60,600 for an annual maintenance for Munis. On the current version we're on, without moving to SAS, our self-hosted, they're gonna prorate that for 2 months, and then they will bill us for the remainder months. So it's not like if we pay it, it's just lost money. They will credit us.
Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, and then my thought was, all the work we've put in up till now, thinking that you should be going to this 11.1 version, which
Well,
you're not
that's
gonna be
just
able.
our time.
It's our time.
But we also save, on hardware side, I mean, that's 5 less servers,
5
that's
less
less room licensing, we save on the cost of licensing, we save on the cost of the storage of that data. All of that stuff every few years needs to be upgraded, so now that hardware side won't need to, those
Goes away.
licenses won't need to, so there
And
is a cost
There's
savings.
one subtle effect of this. If something happens to town hall, like to say we lose even internet connection, you're not getting to the finance system, which means nobody's getting paid, we're not doing our thing. Hosted off here, if something happened here, Catherine can work from her home through the VPN connection, which we have to buy from them, of course. But she would be able to work from there, payroll would be able to produce payroll somewhere else. It's a subtle thing, but it's a nice safety feature.
It's
It's a
like I
nice-
said, disaster issues.
You know,
Okay, other questions, comments? Thank you, folks, good luck, and
No,
we'll
thank
see-
you, because this kind of came up quick.
yeah,
so-
real quick.
We'll see you in May. Thank you.
Taking a day off.
All right, with no other business to come before the board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Moved. Seconded by Charlie. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Thank you.
The preceding program was brought to you through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.